What's up, all you mentees? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and today is the return of one of my favorite segments, Hidden Gems. That's right, today I'm going to be talking about graphic novels, collected editions that don't get a lot of recognition, a lot of love. I don't see a lot of people talking about them. Some of them were suggested by you all, so please leave those comments down below. But let's go ahead and get started with the next 5 for April of 2023. Welcome back, all you mentees. So this is the return of one of my favorite segments where I talk about some books that don't get a lot of love out there. And you may have heard of some of these, you may have heard of none of these, you may have heard of all of these. And I would love to know your thoughts. Leave them down below. I'll put timestamps in the description of the video as suggested by you all. So you can jump around depending on the type of title or book. But sometimes I always say, don't judge a book by its cover and its title. Did I just make that up? I think I just made that up. Yeah, sometimes you can't really judge a book by both of those. But before I go any further, a big thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. In the description of the video, we do have a link to our Patreon if you want to check that out. There are different tiers for our patrons. It starts at $1. And smash that like button, please. That goes a long way for the channel, and it's a very small thing you can do. It seems like YouTube seems to be promoting those YouTube shorts these days, and well, as you all know, I'm pretty long-winded, so I like to talk. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with our first hidden gem this month. And that is Brigands by Ron V and Nick Barber, published by Action Lab Entertainment. So long before Ron V was writing comics for DC and Marvel, he was doing a lot of independent stuff. He had actually, the very first thing I ever read by him was These Savage Shores, which is freaking amazing. I don't know if I've had him in my hidden gems. I know I've done an old reader, new reader with Maddie, and maybe I need to bring that to people's attention. It's published by Vault Comics. But before he did that, he was working on this book. Now, this is one of 3. Volume 2 has come out. I don't think Volume 3 was ever published, just to kind of keep that in mind. This is definitely one that's rated Teen Plus, and like I mentioned, there's going to be 3 volumes. So what exactly is this? Well, this is a fantasy action-adventure type of story. You have this character named Stillion, who has a reputation for scheming and thieving and backstabbing people, but everything eventually catches up to him when he is thrown in a prison cell. And he has a chance to redeem himself and get out of this prison by going on this journey. And pretty much the catch is that he has to embark on a quest to obtain the Miros pendulum, which is kind of like your MacGuffin. Doesn't really matter what it is. All that he knows is that his reward for getting this item is a new lease on life. But if he fails, well, that certainly means death for him. Now, he's not going to go alone. He has an old colleague of his that will be joining him on this quest, and that is Vena. And together, they're going to have to put a team of bandits and thieves and pretty much not good people to go on this heist. So it's kind of like, yes, Ocean's 11, whether it's the original or the remake, meets something like the Dirty Dozen or Suicide Squad, because he's going to have to break some of these people out of prison in order for them to join both of them on this quest. And that's one of the biggest aspects I enjoy about this book, is that it's for everybody. It's for people that like medieval type of action stories. It's for people that like fantasy genre. It's for people that enjoy a good heist story, or for people that just like a protagonist that aren't really good. They're kind of middle ground, and I like the character interactions. The art by Nick Barber seems like a mix between like early Mike Mignola meets a cartoonier type of style, and it took me a while, honestly, to get into it, but by the end of the book I really dug it. So this is, again, rated Teen Plus. It's only available in trade paperback, and there's a total of 3 of them, but only the second and first volume are out so far. But that's how we're going to kick off this month's Hidden Gems. Savage Things, not to be confused with These Savage Shores by Ron V that I just talked about. This one here is published by Vertigo/DC Comics. It is by Justin Jordan and Ibrahim Mustafa. And this is an all-in-one. There is no other volumes past this. It is definitely mature rating, though, mainly due to the violence. There is a little bit of sexual content, but it's mainly the violence that gives this one a mature rating. So the premise behind this is about this secret government organization known as the Black Forest. And they have a task of recruiting children, and I mean small kids. Matter of fact, the very first few pages, we see one of these kids get recruited by this agent that just killed his parents. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? And he's like, I want revenge. I'm going to kill you. And he's like, good, you'll be perfect for this team. And immediately you're like, what? How are you going to kidnap a kid like this? And as you find out, the kids that they are targeting are pretty much kids that show sociopath or psychopathic signs. And usually it's kids that are in trouble. So that's the kind of children that are going after. And they're going to make them into perfect assassins. They're going to make them into perfect killing machines. Now, this idea of a school for assassins for kids is not unique in any way. But there are some rough scenes in here. There's a scene in here where the teacher's like, okay, there's 40 of you in this class. I'm going to shut the door. When I come back, 20 of you better be alive and 20 of you dead. And you're like, holy crap, how are they just going to put a bunch of kids together like this? So it's very Battle Royale type of story at first. But it does it in a way that there's flashbacks and then you get to present time. Because at some point, the people in charge pulled the plug on this program. And when I say pull the plug, they exterminate any evidence of this program ever existing. As far as the people that worked for the program and the kids, they also wiped them all out. Now, not all the kids get wiped out because eventually about 25 years later, these kids that survived the program are coming back for revenge. And man, they're all being led by this character known as Cain. And yes, he takes his name from the biblical name of Cain. Now, there's only one chance to stop these group of savage assassins coming after everybody that was involved in this, including the government. And that is Abel, the only kid that escaped this program. He comes back as a man and is the only one that can stop Cain and his group of mercenaries from killing everybody. Now, there's a lot of twists and turns that I did not see coming, and that's why I mainly enjoyed this one. And the artwork is just really gritty and realistic that it makes me think, man, this would be a really good HBO miniseries. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is available in trade paperback format and all in one. So nothing after this, nothing before this. Postcards, true stories that never happened. This is pretty much the brainchild of the editor Jason Rodriguez. It is published by Vineyard Books. And sadly, it is just all in one. And I wish there was more. I have no idea how long I've been doing this channel and not talked about this book. This is one of my most favorite projects that I've seen done in the world of graphic novels. So what this is, like I mentioned, the brainchild of Jason Rodriguez. And what he does is he collects postcards. He goes to flea markets, he goes to pawn shops, yard sales, and he's been a collector of postcards from a long time ago. He loves the way that we used to communicate with each other. And he tasked a group of comic creators with creating a story based on the postcard, whether it's the image or whether it's the message in the back. And I thought that was such a freaking awesome idea. Now, they're not long stories. They're about sometimes 4 to 10 pages long each. But you have creators in here like Phil Hester, Stuart Moore, Michael Gaydos, Harvey Pekar. Actually, the Harvey story in here is the only one that is not fiction. It's not made up. It's actually his story and his wife's story. And I thought that was a beautiful way to end this. So you have stories in here from creepy to inspiring. There's some heartbreaking stories. As a matter of fact, a lot of these are sad. I love the fact that, the artists, the comic creators just have either a picture or a one-sentence postcard to write a complete story for. And what's really interesting about this is that The Astonishing Melanie, my wife, actually taught this in class she used this. She actually got a hold of Jason years ago for her freshman class. It was a really cool experiment of like giving them a postcard and they were going to write stories. Not a comic book, they were going to write stories about it. So this one is really, really important to both of us. It's only available in hardcover format, and this to me feels like a teenage book. Not teenage plus, but definitely anybody in high school, so 13 and older. And if you've not read it, it is out of print, but it is super cheap. And you can, as of this video, it is super cheap and you can still find it out there. It is a very cool project that I wish they had done more with, and that is Postcards. Space-Mullet by Daniel Warren Johnson, published by Dark Horse Comics, and a big shout out to Darkstar916 for sending this my way a few years ago. I got around to read it. Actually, as soon as he sent it to me, I got around to read it, because at that time I was familiar with Daniel Warren Johnson for his work on Extremity, and he did the Ghost Fleet book for Dark Horse as well. I had no idea that eventually he would blow up to be this huge name in comics now for Wonder Woman, Powerbomb, and Murder Falcon, and oh my gosh, Beta Ray Bill needs to be in a gallery edition. But this is his very first comic, and it starts as a webcomic. So it all started, I think, in 2012. He has an introduction in here talking about how it's rough to go back, but he's also proud of going back and looking at his artwork because he has just evolved. And honestly, his art is so good. It's so solid. I don't see a problem with it. Yes, he's gotten a lot better, but you can see the beginnings of that here. So these were originally published as a web format. As a matter of fact, you can still go to, I think it's just space-mullet.com. And if you want to read this for free, you don't have to own the book. But I mean, why are you here if you want to go read it digitally? But what I was going to say is, sadly, this is not finished. It's on hiatus. We only have one book of it so far. There are more chapters online, and that's on hiatus as well, so keep that in mind. So what exactly is this? Well, this is like Star Wars meets Firefly, and it's a beautiful story that about an alien and an ex-Marine. So it all focuses on Jonah. He's your human space trucker, and like I mentioned, he's your ex-Marine, and he's also the owner of the mullet. And he also has this really thin mustache. It took me a while to get what it was. And his partner is Alpheus. So together they go on space adventures, or he calls him Alf. And Alpheus is a Zozobian, I think is what he is. He's the co-pilot, and he is a complete badass. He comes and rescues Jonah from time to time. And it's this bromance between both of them. A lot of other people end up joining the crew later on, but it's really about the friendship between both of them and the trouble they get into and what it means to be a friend. Like, how much are you willing to sacrifice for your friend? And I thought that was the most important part about this. There's a lot of heart in here. Yes, it's a space adventure, but much like all his other work, it's so much more than that. As I mentioned at the very beginning, Daniel Warren Johnson's apologizing for his rough style, but I don't think he needed to, because I really do think the art suits the story just fine. And as you're reading it, it improves along the way. He definitely crafts a stunning space scene with just using black, white, and blue as the only tones in this book. And I think that is freaking amazing. I guess it was easier to do through the webcomic with just 3 colors that you're working with. But available in trade paperback, this one has a teen plus mature rating on it, basically because of the violence, but that's it. And so far, we only have 1 volume physically, but if you want to read past this, you go to that website. I'll put it in the link of the description too. She Could Fly by Christopher Cantwell and Martin Morazzo, published by Dark Horse Comics. And if you've been following my channel for a while, or if you've just been following me just for a little bit, but if you've ever enjoyed any of the suggestions I've given you, stop right now. Don't even watch this. Go and buy this and read it. Because I like the idea of people going into this completely blind like I did. But for people that can't go exactly into books blind and they kind of want to know exactly what it is, or give you the pitch, I'll explain what it is. But if you've trusted me before, go and read this, because oh my gosh, out of all these books that I've just mentioned, I hope I can do this one justice. So this is published by Dark Horse as part of their Burger line, Burger Books, Karen Burger. And it's got those flaps, so when you open it up, the dust jacket, or it's not a dust jacket, I'm sorry. It's not a soft cover, it's not a hard cover, but it feels different, and it's got those flaps. I love that about these books. So the premise of this is for 51 days in Chicago, Illinois, a woman has appeared in the skies, flying. No helicopter, no jetpack. It's just a woman flying for some reason. And she's been captured on film. She's been captured on cell phones. And of course, everybody's talking about this. But that's not the point of this, even though the title is called She Could Fly. The point of this book is about a disturbed 15-year-old girl named Luna, who has a lot of borderline psychotic fantasies about killing and harming people, about snapping one day and doing things. She sees a therapist and she fantasizes about stabbing her, or her therapist tells her about her cat that she accidentally ran over. So she starts seeing her therapist as somebody with a cat head that has been violently scarred from, I guess, the car running over her. My gosh, the imagery in this is haunting. And yeah, this one is mature rating for sure. But it is about her becoming obsessed with this woman that can fly. And this isn't a spoiler, but I just want to go ahead. That's why I told people to stop watching, but this is a very important part of the story that kind of kicks off what the story is really about. This woman that can fly explodes. And everybody is surprised, and they kind of let it go, except for Luna, who's been obsessed with this woman that can fly. So she seeks out answers. She's trying to figure out why this has happened. And it helps her, try to obsess over something else instead of focusing on all these, like I said, borderline psychotic fantasies that she's having. And along the way, you get to meet other characters. You get to find out what exactly is going on. Like you meet Earl, who's a really interesting character. I'm not going to spoil what he does exactly. But she becomes so obsessed that eventually she finds a little locket with what could have been the flying woman's maybe name. So she starts investigating things. Oh my gosh, I love this book. It is so brilliantly written. I've been a big fan of Christopher Cantwell since I've read his Doom series, and then he did Iron Man for Marvel. And this is his very first comic right out of TV. He came from the world of television. But this is just an amazing story that you even explaining it, you can't do it justice because it's so much in here. It's a powerful, emotional, beautiful story about the power of the mind. And even though that stuff is happening, it also happens to be a political thriller. You get to find out exactly what's behind this. Oh man. Do yourself a favor and get this. There's 3 volumes available, and that's all there is, and the story's all and done. I hope one day we get a library edition if Dark Horse notices that enough people have been buying these up. And I hope I was able to do this one justice. Out of all the books today, I hope I was able to do this one justice. And I love the character of Luna. I think she is written so well and so relatable. Not because I have the same kind of fantasies, but just because sometimes your brain drifts when you're in the midst conversation, or you're supposed to be focusing on work or editing a video. And yes, check this one out. Again, it's mature rating. It is available in trade paperback, and there are 3 volumes. And a big thank you to MC for bringing this book to my attention last year. This is why I tell people to leave comments down below to suggest books that could be in Hidden Gems later on. Now, if you're interested in purchasing any of the books, if they're still available in stock, check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code NEARMINTCONDITION at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And those were my 5 hidden gems for the month of April of 2023. As I mentioned previously, leave those comments down below. Let me know what you think is a hidden gem that nobody has talked about. Sometimes I do look at each comment. I don't reply to every one, but I do look at every comment. And sometimes I've read the stuff already, or it's already been featured in hidden gems. But sometimes you guys just give me gold, and thank you all so much. Smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.